Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm your host, Belmont, and I just got back from seeing Mickey 17. I'm gonna run this in the background just to have something on the screen. This is the extended sneak peek that was released a couple days ago, just prior to the movie coming out. I think it's just like the first 7 or 8 minutes of the movie. It's gonna be on extra slow, so I can just rant because I've got a lot to say. I'm gonna go ahead and start this off with this will contain spoilers for the movie as well as the Mickey 7 novel. So if you don't want to be spoiled on any of that, you've been warned. Now's your chance to get out of here. But the movie fails so hard. This movie's not good. It's a bad adaptation, and as a standalone movie, it's not even really that great. It's like for sci-fi fans that don't really understand sci-fi or how movies should be written, because it fails on like character development, it fails on plot progression, it fails on like motivation. It just fails in so many aspects of storytelling. But what really bothered me about this movie is that it is nothing like the novel. Like, I understand they put Mickey 17 instead of Mickey 7. So real quick breakdown of what Mickey 7 is the novel is about the seventh iteration of Mickey who survives an incident. He's the expendable of his crew, which is an expendable is a person who has their memory and DNA recorded, so when they die, they just upload their memory and print a new body for them with this human printing machine. And he's on his seventh iteration. He survives, as I said, and he comes back to find the eighth, which is multiples. Now, multiples are extremely illegal, and the process is to uh, wipe out all the multiples and start again with an older memory so they don't know that they were multiples kind of thing. They don't do a memory upload and let them like think that they're just the next iteration and that they died somehow. And the basic novel goes through the balancing act of two people having to try to pretend to be the same person. And the novel is actually very serious. The weird thing about this novel, though, is the movie was announced in January of 2022. The novel was not released until February of 2022. So it's a really new story. It's a really new novel, new property, but it wasn't it I just it's weird to me that this novel was picked up almost immediately. Like it went to the publisher and the publisher immediately contacted Hollywood and went, "Yo, we've got a new sci-fi property. You should check this out." And it immediately went into production. They announced it before the book even dropped, I guess to maybe get hype for the book. I picked up the book kind of less than a year ago, um, and read it. I was like, Mickey 7, and it said soon to be a motion picture. And I was like, oh. And then I saw a trailer for, I think I saw the book first, saw the sneak peek of Mickey 17 that was coming out, which was, I think, like a 17-second trailer was the joke. It was 17 seconds of Mickey 17. And I went, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and pick up that book I saw. If Barnes and Noble still had it, they still had it. I picked it up, read it. It's a quick read, 3-day read, and it was really good. I really, actually, really enjoyed the book. Like the Ashton wrote a good book and did really good character development, really good world building, and this movie just doesn't do it justice at all. At all. I don't know why the director, Bong Joon, so I can't remember his name. It's the guy who did Parasite. He also did Snowpiercer and several other movies. Those are the two that come to mind. I know he did Snowpiercer, so he was known for an adaptation, but then he did Parasite. And I guess when he's up left to his own devices, he can churn out really good movies. But when he's doing adaptations, not so much apparently. Because this movie's just fails in so many ways. And the book is it's so different. It's completely different. The character of Mickey is different. His development is different. The movie has his best friend is supposed to be Timo. which in the book, Timo is just a random character that uh wants to hook up with Mickey because they want to know what it's like to sleep with an expendable, a and his friend Berto, who Timo plays in the movie, his real friend from Earth is not even Earth. It's whatever planet they're on. That's where they screw up too. But Berto, not even in the book. His character is blended into this Timo character a little bit. Um, Chen, security officer Chen, not in the movie. They changed her to like another character who's not even Asian, from what I can tell. She sounds Eastern European. Nasha's still in it, but she's been given a much more major role. She's more of like the backbone of the movie, and they give her a ton of important parts that never happened in the book. And I don't know, it's just not it just doesn't do its service. It's real sad and disappointing. I don't know why they feel that they have to change a story that was so well written and so put together, great progression, great world, and completely create this stuff. The I can't even remember his name. Mark Ruffalo's character isn't in the book at all. It's actually just like some regular captain whose name I also can't remember right now. I've been like my memory wiped by this movie for a lot of parts of the characters' names because I've just been the movie's like 2 hours and 15, 2 hours and 17 minutes long or something like that. It's a slog. But Mark Ruffalo's character and his wife aren't even in the book. They're really weird and jilted characters. I don't know Mark Ruffalo's career really outside of the Avengers, because I don't think I've ever seen 13 going on 30 or whatever it is. I think he's in one of those movies. I refuse to watch Poor Things because it's just softcore porn and I don't give a shit about any of the characters. But from what I've seen in this movie, Mark Ruffalo is a fucking terrible actor. I don't know why people like him. If his performance in this movie has anything to speak to his career, he is a dog shit actor when it comes to reading lines, when it comes to reciting, when it comes to like being a character. I don't understand it. He didn't seem this irritating and grating to me in the Avengers, but then again, he's got maybe 20 lines in the entire fucking series up until what, Infinity War or Endgame, with the last one, Endgame. He has more lines in Endgame than I think he has in the entire rest of the Avengers movies combined. Like the first three Avengers movies, and then there's Endgame, and it's rough. But his acting's so bad. And the person who plays his wife is a completely unnecessary character with a completely unnecessary arc. I don't know why she's there. She's just there to, I guess, show that him and his wife are the ultimate evil. They're just ridiculous, horrible people to be horrible people. Mickey's the Mickey 17 and 18 versus the 7 and 8 characters are completely different the way they act and behave. In the movie, Mickey 18 is just this psychopath, like absolute murderous psychopath. And Mickey 17 is just a pushover, period 100% pushover. Where in the novels, Mickey 8 is more of a, you know, laissez-faire, passive kinda guy, doesn't really give too much shits, cares more about himself than anything else, and is more about self-preservation and less about trying to, like, harm people. And Mickey 7 is a little bit of a pushover, but his character development throughout the novel is that he learns to stick up for himself more and more as the story goes. That's his character progression, as he becomes a stronger person. In the movie, they portray him as an absolute dipshit for the most part, where in the novel, he's more of a everyman, kind of like a jack of all trades, slightly above average, capable of learning. One of the big changes in the movie that I really didn't like is they start on Earth, and him and his friend Timo, who's supposed to be Berto but isn't, but him and his friend Timo both took out loans. Timo apparently took out more loans, put them in Mickey's name, and they're wanted by this. loan shark who's gonna kill them. Like, effectively, he's like this brutal murder guy. It's a plot story that plays out later for some magic fucking reason. Like, a loan shark manages to track these people on another planet in another system. But they start out on Earth. That's Timu right here on the screen right now. That's who's supposed to be Berto. In the novel, it was Berto, who's his best friend. And in this scene here where Mickey falls in like a crevasse, he's or crevice, whatever you want to call it, he never comes down and talks to him. He's literally like communicating him with the communicator. He's in a ship saying that he can't like come down because there's nowhere to land because it looks too fragile that the ship might crash down and he can't lose the ship because they're all about preserving resources. He's not like looking at him in the face and abandoning him. This just I guess they were just trying to drill home that this guy's the ultimate asshole, but they're in it together and they're both fleeing together. Where in the novel, Berto is a top-notch pilot and like this ultra sports star. He's like a what's effectively sounds like some sort of futuristic version of paddleball or wall ball. I'm not sure the actual rules of it, but he's like a champion in that. And the reason Mickey actually became an expendable is because he was in debt, not from taking loans from a loan shark, but from gambling. Like he kept placing bets against his friend, thinking he wasn't going to do well because he was also in pilot school and doing this like sports stuff at the same time. And he's like, there's no way he can handle it. But his friend's like, "Nah, I'm awesome. I did it. I'm a good pilot. I'm a better sports star." He's like, "I could go professional with sports, but I just love flying." And that's why he took this mission to go on another planet. Because people are like, "Why would you take this? This is, it's supposed to be this noble thing, the panspermia effectively, but it's more like space manifest destiny. The desire to spread ourselves through all the stars because they're not even from Earth originally. They're from the first successful colony planet after they left Earth. Earth was like they're not sure what happened to Earth. They thought it was doomed. They left. They never looked back. Earth isn't part of the equation at all. But in this, they start on Earth and they're fleeing from loan sharks. And it's just a weird side arc. It was something about macaroons and I don't know. It was completely unnecessary to change the story. Every aspect of the story has basically been changed. Then you have these right here are the creepers, which they invented this new looking like pseudo water bear thing, and they like actually like flay open and open up. In the novel, they're just described as giant centipedes with like extra large pincers and long antenna. Um, it's just there was no reason to change the design. They were supposed to be much more imposing. These things are designed to look kinda cute cute because they have this whole plot line where, uh, the humans are basically, captured some and are trying to, like, kinda torture them in a way, and they don't that doesn't happen ever in the book. In the book, it's more of a pseudo territory war, where in this, the creepers are just completely the innocent aliens being invaded by the humans. Now she even has a dumbass fucking line where she's like, "We're the aliens, you're attacking them, blah blah blah. Mankind's the real bad guy here," kind of shit that's not in the story at all. And the whole thing is that Mickey's like he gets saved by them because one of the creepers, just one, not a whole swarm like you see in the movie, one creeper picks him up and carries him back to base and drops him off like right outside one of the emergency hatches. Or they drop him off a little bit away from it and then he walks to the emergency hatch. And this is actually kind of hilarious in slow motion. I will say that they at least spent the money on good CGI for this because this CGI is a lot better than most of the other movies that have had CGI come out lately. It's just another line in a series of bad fucking movies that have come out in the past few years that make no sense of why they have this poorly written plot progression, this poorly written overarching story. Their B stories and C stories are just not that entertaining for the movies. They don't make sense too. But where was I? Yeah, oh yeah, the creepers. Yeah, like this is nothing how they're described in the book. This is some like Stranger Things, Lovecraftian horror shit where they were just sentient centipedes that can are not even uh yeah, no, centipedes, the ones with less legs and the big pincers. But they completely changed that. They changed what their motivation was. Their motivation seems to be just to be left alone, where in the novel, they actively are fighting the humans for several chapters. Where and it's unprovoked, it seems. Like the humans are just like patrolling around the ship, and then the creepers attack, and they defend themselves a little bit, and then they attack again, and then at one point they're attacking, like, the actual ship itself, not just the patrollers. They're, like, tearing chunks out of the ship. Like, they're testing to see how strong the ship is, and their pincers have no problem cutting through metal. Like, they slice through metal, they slice through people. They lose 4 or 5, I think it's 4 or 5, 4 or 5 soldiers before they decide to take drastic action, where in this, I think they lose 1. Like, 1 person dies from the creeper activity, and it's actually their own fault in this. Instead of being killed by creepers, they fire a machine gun upwards into ice a whole bunch of times, and then just the ice cave collapses in and crushes her. It's like, okay, that was 100% your fault. You're supposed to be a trained soldier. You should know better than to fire a high-powered rifle at anything directly above you in a cave because it could possibly have debris fall down on top of you or cause a cave in because of the echo of how acoustics might work in a cave. You're on a fucking alien planet, lady. But this is the memory brick. They call it the memory brick in the movie. I don't think it was described as like a literal like brick with like as you can see, it's like a red brick with flashing lights. This is some sci-fi rigmarole, like let's make it look fancy and whatnot. The technology in the book is way more futuristic. It's like a brain scan. It's just like depicted as he puts this helmet on and it just bloop scans his brain and it records his memories. And one thing they never address about this is they act like they're constantly uploading his brain, but part of his character motivation and part of the actual importance of the story is that he hasn't uploaded his memory in about a month in the novel where he's supposed to do it like every 3 or 4 days. Like after every major mission where he learns something, he's supposed to upload his memory. But at minimum, every 3 to 4 days, he's supposed to upload it just to keep a fresh memory on log. That way, if anything happens unexpected, because he could trip, bash his head on the side of a table and die. Right? That happens to people. So he's got to keep his memory fresh. Where in this, it's just like they're killing him while his memory's hooked up. They also added the extra 10 iterations so they could show like some pointless stuff because the whole thing about like the Mickey is the first Mickey died when there was an issue with the reactor and they couldn't send a robot in because the radiation kills a robot and those electronics faster than it kills a person. So he had to go in, fix the problem. He had to get talked through how to fix a reactor. And they're like, yeah, the radiation is going to kill you, but you can survive for about 15 minutes, where the robot that we would send in to do this job will survive for about 30 seconds. So the robot won't be able to do the job at all, where you can get it done. His second one, they actually show kind of that scene, and but it's weird because he gets his like hand cut off. That's even in the trailer. But the second one, but then he like as soon as he gets printed, he sits up and looks at his hand like, oh, I just lost this. And it's like you were on the hull of a ship outside experiencing cosmic radiation This, I think it's this scene right here. Experience cosmic radiation. So you weren't uploading your memory. You wouldn't have any knowledge of your losing your hand. It's some weird scene and some connection thing that they really screwed up with the story. I guess it was visually pleasing to the director, so they put it in there, or the writers, or whoever adapted the screenplay put it in. But it's just so far away from this amazing novel. Like the story in the novel is well worth the read. I suggest anybody who enjoys reading go pick up Mickey 7, read it if you're still gotten this far to it. Um, even if I'm probably gonna spoil the ending too, but even though that's gonna happen, you should still go read the novel because it's fucking amazing. It's just an amazing novel, and I'm not gonna give you every detail just because you know, physically can't give you every detail, remember every detail, but they just destroyed it with this movie, and I felt like it was 2 hours of time just lost and wasted watching this thing because it doesn't as a movie, it's the story progression's just bad. Like his character motivation in the movie, uh, everything that happens in the movie happens what seems to be in the span of a day and a half, maybe 2 days, where the novel, there are multiples for probably about, I want to say 2 or 3 months. They managed to keep the charade going. But in this, they get caught after a couple days at best, because let me figure this out. He walks back, it's the next morning, and he finds himself, 18 tries to kill 17, and then they're fighting over, he's trying to throw 17 into the, which is the recycler, where in the book they did a rock, paper, scissors to see who would go in, and 17 lost, so 18's gonna push him in, but then 18 can't because he's like, it's too weird trying to kill myself. He's like, I can't do it. Where in this, he's like actively fighting to push him in the hole, and 17's fighting to stay alive. And then 17 tries to kill their best friend by throwing him in the hole, the Timo guy, because he's like, oh, it's his fault we're in this situation. And I don't know, he's just a murderous psychopath. Where in the novel, 8 was, like I said, just kind of like laissez faire. Oh, I don't care. I just want to survive. Whatever we can do to make ourselves survive. There's a lot more about rations in the book than there are in this. Rations are mentioned a little bit, and about people like getting their rations halved and whatnot, but they don't really play on it that much. It's probably about a 5 minutes total of screen time for the rations, where it is actually like a main plot point in the book because you're on a spaceship, you're on a foreign planet. They're doing like recycling food and printing food with this, sci-fi bullshit technology. But yeah, Song Joon-ho, or Bong Joon-ho, the guy who did Parasite, the guy who did Snowpiercer. Like I said, he's done several movies. I can't remember them all. I remember those two off the top of my head just because I saw Snowpiercer, didn't like it, and then I gotta pause. That's a scene from the end of the movie. You know how I always my theory is they always put the beginning, the middle, and the end of every movie in the trailers, and this proves it. This is near the beginning. This scene right here. Um, oh, they say this. See, I haven't seen this. I didn't watch. I watched the first trailer for this, and then that was it. This is near the beginning as well. This is which scene is this? This right here. He loses his hand. Fool. That's that weird scene. Oh, this is the middle of the movie. There you go. But it's just it's not a good movie. It's really not. I wish it was. I love the book so much that I've been planning to see this movie for months. It's just like I gotta see this movie. I already knew it was gonna be different just because it's called Mickey 17 versus Mickey 7. So I expected it to be lean more towards the comedy, and there were a lot of people in my theater laughing. And the comedy, it's just not my type of comedy, I guess, because it's like pseudo dry humor, pseudo. It's not even like dad jokes dry humor. It's just like dry. Another scene from the end of the movie. That's the character that's throwing the middle finger. That's supposed to be Chen, the Asian security officer. Right? This is Mark Ruffalo. He plays like a failed senator who's now like the captain of the ship somehow. Like I don't know how that makes him qualified to be a captain. That's Nasha. Uh she's pretty spot on for like the description of the character in the book. Nasha Adajaya. I don't know how to actually pronounce it because it's it's written on page. But this scene is like the only scene that's like straight up like this, not even this whole scene, just this clip is the only thing that's straight up straight from the book. He comes back exhausted, flops in bed. Mickey 8 sits up. Mickey 17 looks at him, but they flip it. He goes, "Oh, you're Mickey 18." Where in the book, Mickey 8 looks at him and just goes, "Oh, I'm Mickey 8." And March 7th. I was wondering if they released it on March 7th to pay homage to Mickey 7 when they should have released it on March 17th for Mickey 17, but yeah, this prop pisses me off because they set it down and then it's just sitting there for like the whole scene, glowing red hot at this exact same intensity the entire time. But yeah, oh, there's the very end of the movie for everybody right there. That explosion. But here comes the major spoilers. Uh, excuse me. How the movie ends, like ends. So here's your warning if you're still here and you don't want to know how the movie ends or the book ends. The movie ends with the president or whatever, Mark Ruffalo's character and Mickey 18 getting blown up when Mickey 18 sacrifices himself because the creepers demand that an alien or one of the humans get killed because one of their aliens got killed. Where in the novel, several of the aliens get killed and several of the humans get killed. And the commander of the ship doesn't die at the end at all. Like he's still alive at the end. But they send them out with these, they call them nerve gas bombs in the movie. But then when Mickey 18 blows himself up, it's literally like a thermic explosion. It's like a giant heat bomb explosion. It's not gas at all. It's actually like just a bomb. Um, they blow themselves up, and then the creepers and the humans. Mickey's talking to them at the end. They've built a translator, and they're talking about. Well, I don't know. It seems like they're just making kind of like a idle chit chat, but they found peace and springtime's coming. They thought the planet was just frozen, but they landed in wintertime. And it turns into it's got seasons like Earth. It spring's coming at the end and things are starting to thaw. Where in the novel, and this is the major spoiler for anyone out there, they send Mickey 8 and Mickey 7 into the creeper's lair with a bomb, and their goal is to uh yeah, I don't know why they put that shot in there, but their goal is to explode the creepers with nuclear devices. Right? So they have these nuclear devices and they're sent down there, and the creepers it just instantly kill Mickey 8. Like soon as he gets down there, like his feed cuts off, his radio cuts off, they don't know what happened to him. And then the mother creeper like gets Mickey's 7 and has a conversation with him. He's like, "Are you Prime?" And Mickey Seven's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, the other was a copy. Are you Prime?" And he's like, "Oh, you're asking if I'm the original Mickey." And he's like, "Well, I'm not," in his mind, but he's like, "I can't tell him that." He goes, "Yes, I'm the Prime. I was the first one. He was the copy." And then the creeper's like, "I am Prime too. I am the progenitor of all the creepers." And it's like, "I am Prime, and I'm the progenitor of the creepers, and I think we should come to a deal." And he's like, "We caught your other guy," and he sees the bomb. They have the bomb as well, and Mickey makes a deal with them. He's like, "Look, we'll stop trying to attack you if you stop trying to attack us. There seems to be like some misunderstanding. We're new here." And the creepers were like, "Well, we were just trying to figure out what you were. We didn't really know what you were." And they talk like they're psychic in the book, I believe. Like they have like a psychic link. It learned speech from, I think, Mickey 6. Because Mickey 6 got lost and they're like, "Oh, eaten by creepers." But apparently he lived with them until he, I guess, starved to death. They don't really explain it that well or that I can remember. It's been a while since I actually read the novel, and I've read several other novels in between. But I think they learn language from Mickey 6, so they kind of understand it, but they have like a weird psychic link with Mickey because they all communicate psychically with each other. And they basically come to an agreement to where they're like, "We're about to hibernate because we're only active in the wintertime," is what it sounds like. And they're like, "Spring's coming, but you keep to you, you keep to us, you stay out of our caves, we'll stay off the surface because we don't really care about the surface." And that's the agreement they come to. But the character development we get from Mickey is he tells the boss that they still have the other nuke when actually he has the other nuke. He just hit it. But he's like, "Yeah, they still have it. I had to tell them what it was." And the marshal's like, "Why'd you tell them? You didn't need to tell them that." And he goes, "No, I did need to tell them that because I don't want them to fiddle with it on accident and, I don't know, maybe blow it up while it's underneath the ship." And it shows that not only did Mickey grow a backbone in the time because he's talking back to the marshal, but that he learned to stand up for himself. He learned to negotiate. He learned to be his own person. And because they were multiples and they found out about it, they do cancel the program after that because he's like, "I'm not going to be a part of this." He's like, "Delete my DNA." They were actually going to make Chen, the security officer, the new multiple or the new expendable. Not multiple, the expendable. The new expendable. But they decided against it because they have to remember there's this one story they tell where in the movie they pseudo told it, but the movie was one of the people who invented the human printing technology had made copies of himself. He made two copies, so there were three of him. And that's when they decided multiples were illegal because one of them was a murderer, one of them was just the regular scientist, and the other one was there to be like an alibi. So they're like, "Oh, you're the murderer." And he's like, "I could be the murderer. I was doing this." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, he was doing that." Then they realized there were two, but while they had the two arrested, the other one was murdering it. Where the novel's warning of multiples is this first one colony that failed because something like 80% of all colonies fail. Only a handful actually survive. But this one that failed was at the end, according to the report logs, the entire colony was comprised of 25 versions of the multiple of the one expendable because everyone else had died. And he kept just printing himself to try to see if they could work together to save the colony because it had some sort of reactor problem. And in the end, they couldn't, and the place went nuclear, and it's an unlivable colony. And they were like, "All right, multiples are illegal because this colony collapsed because of multiples." Even if it wasn't the multiples' fault, that's still how governments kind of work. They look at what was happening at the end that made it fail. Oh, there were 25 of the same guy. Yeah, we can't do that. And that's where the whole multiples are illegal thing comes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say about this. I could probably talk about this movie for another hour because it was just that dumb and that poorly adapted, but I think I'll call it there. You now know pretty much my views on it. You know the basic synopsis of the movie and the book, and you know the ending of the movie and the book if you've made it this far. Congratulations to you. I applaud your efforts. Thank you for watching this whole video. This has been your host, Belmont, signing out.